today. You know, I think I singled out Kyle Walker as kind of a microcosm of what's going on. I love him as a player. He's been brilliant for them. He's been brilliant for England. His pace, his reading of the game is probably second to none. And yet today we saw none of that. We saw him outpaced in moments. We saw him kind of lackadaisically getting back in on the shoulder of a center back, which is what he does perfectly. There's a little bug within that dressing room right now because things aren't quite clicking.
Tim, just quickly on the pace. If you don't have pace just today, is it a blip, or is it if the pace is gone, it's gone?
No, I mean, I think for him, there were moments that this was a decision-making type of thing. There were moments that he's usually head back, sprinting, arms pumping, and he just didn't see a lot of that. And so I think it's more a mentality thing.
Definitely a crisis now, Rob.
Absolutely. In some respects, I think fans of other teams will say, welcome to our world, the normal world, that this is what happens. It's really interesting. Tim talks about Kyle Walker and the team. I thought body language was really poor today from City. The reaction to being 1-0 down, 2-0 down, 3-0 down, in the end 4. I think the last 7 Premier League losses for Manchester City, Rodri hasn't played. We saw him with the Ballon d'Or today. It isn't just what Rodri does with his physicality and his defending. It's his ability vocally to get people on side, to get them up for the game, to get them mentally where they need to be. Manchester City mentally weren't in a good place today, and Spurs ran all over them.
Surely in January they have to try and find a Rodri replacement.
Absolutely.
They just don't exist today. Rodri replacements. He's the best player in the world, and that is official. What a victory for Tottenham. Also presented by Expedia. These are the scorelines today. Wins for Chelsea, Brighton, Arsenal and Wolves. And all the goals are going to be available for you over on the NBC Sports YouTube channel in a short while. But this is the day that Manchester City have suffered their heaviest home defeat in nearly 22 years. And let's have a look at how it unfolded against Tottenham at the Etihad. Well, it started in a nice way. Rodri, Ballon d'Or winner, getting the acclaim from the fans and from the players. And then 4 minutes on the clock, Haaland should have put them 1-up, Tim.
Yeah, and his movement was really sharp. It was just his finishing let him down. We're never really used to saying that, but you can see there, just pulls his shot wide and then, again, gets in a really, really good position. Does everything right, but for a fantastic save from Vicario, and that would be a snapshot of the day, really, Haaland versus Vicario. But this was Tottenham at their best. Kulusevski winning the foot race, finding a little bit of space for himself against Guardiola, and then that lovely left foot puts a cross in there. Maddison finishes it off. This is what Maddison has been trying to do, get himself back in a team with work rate. He sees the space there. Kyle Walker normally tucks himself back in, but that time it was too late. And again, good press, well set up behind the ball. And this is Maddison just passing and moving. And this finish here is exactly why Tottenham bought him. Clinical and classy. We talked about him not being in the starting lineup last few games. Postecoglou wanting more from his star player, and he's getting it. He's getting effort, he's getting energy. When he gets himself in positions like this, he is so clinical. It was a brilliant finish with Tottenham ahead, 2-0. And again, more of Haaland, more of the same. Like I said, the movement, really, really good. Getting in good spaces. Just flashes it over the top.
Yeah, it wasn't his day at all. Was it more of that to come in a tick? But into the second half, 52 minutes on the clock, it's 3.
Yeah, well, the next goal was going to be so important in this game, and it comes to Spurs. Again, a number of times we saw Manchester City give the ball away cheaply, needlessly. Spurs on the counter-attack are going to break. Kulusevski, I thought, was outstanding for Spurs today. And when the ball finds its way, Solanke pulls it back to Porro. That is a really good strike against one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Gets his head down, gets good contact, bends it away from the goalkeeper and gives Spurs control of the game at 3-0. And Postecoglou happy with what he saw. Talked about Haaland. It just wasn't a Haaland day. He never really looked to me, Rebecca, as though he was going to add to his league-high 12 Premier League goals this season. This one, he just hits on the top of the crossbar. Just seemed like his finishing was a little bit off. He was a little bit rushed. And when he did get moments, this time with De Bruyne, that's a really good save from Vicario. He's right on top of things to keep the clean sheet. And then 90 plus 3 minutes again, similar situation. Manchester City giving the ball away. So many players in advanced positions. They can't get back. Timo goes one-on-one with Walker, wins that race, and Brennan Johnson does a really good job of getting to the far post to get his goal. 2 late substitutes who came on to make it 4, and that is as bad as it gets for Manchester City at home.
Certainly is. This is a great shot here of the 4th goal going in. A little side-eye from Pep Guardiola looking over at Ange Postecoglou. So Tottenham are up to 6th position, 19 points on the board. They are just 3 points outside the top 4 as things stand. And if you look at the title race, it's bunched up until you get to Liverpool. They have that 5-point gap, which tomorrow could turn into 8. But for Tottenham, surely the best day of the Premier League era for that club. Here's their manager, Ange Postecoglou.
Well, Ange, absolutely stunning result. How big a moment, how big an evening do you think that is for your team?
Yeah, look, I guess it's significant in terms of you understand the context of where you're playing and who you're playing against, and really proud of the lads. I thought the football we played, the resilience we showed, the discipline we showed. Like I said, when you play Manchester City, they test every aspect of your game, and I thought we handled it really well.
4-0, Ange, away at Man City, one of the great Premier League teams. They've not lost here for 2 years, if you take out the Real Madrid penalty shootout. It's a really special night, isn't it?
Yeah, it would have been handy before the international break, and I could have enjoyed a few days with the family, but no... Look, it is. I think it is significant. I know, people probably reflect on, they're not in the greatest of form results-wise, but like I said, here at home, I know what a challenge they are, and it was an important game for us, fair to say, particularly after the last one, and the way the boys sort of reacted to, very easy when you're sort of under pressure and kind of. Things aren't going as smoothly as you want to splinter off, but I never got that sense. We stuck together during the week and, reflected in a great performance today.
And when there have been difficult moments this season, you said, look, we're developing, we're making progress. If that gets questioned again, this is the performance you hold up to the world, isn't it? Yeah, look,
I think it's also for us to reflect on ourselves, if we can perform like this on a consistent level. And even if it's just a bit below this, the disappointing thing for us in a couple of games is we've fallen well short of the kind of football we want to play and the team we want to be, and that's the disappointing thing. I think there's no doubting I think we're on the right track and we're developing to a very good football side, but at the same time we've got to make sure, when our levels drop, they don't drop as they have in a couple of games this year.
Not spoken. Hopefully we can bring it to you. If we can't, it will be over on the NBC Sports YouTube channel. Tim, I talked about Rodri, about trying to get a replacement in January, but the problem is, first of all, there is no replacement anywhere in the world for him, but also, even if you do persuade somebody half decent to arrive, they know, don't they? In 6 months' time, Rodri comes back, they don't play in that system.
Yeah, I mean, it was Fernandinho before him, Rodri now. That you can only really ever have one because they're so important. I still think the solution lies within this group because, like, as you said, adding another piece to it, I mean, maybe it gives them a little bit of impetus and a little bit of a jolt. But, yeah, it's not what they would bring to the team. It's how do you get that player through the door to know that they're only going to be there really on the pitch for a couple months.
Are you surprised, Robbie, he hasn't found the solution yet?
Whether he's got somebody in mind, I mean, listen, Rodri's the one part in that team that's irreplaceable. You can't go and find a single player, never mind two. Again, Gundogan was in there today, really struggled. Zubimendi's a player who's been talked about, Spanish player at Real Sociedad, I think about 25 years of age, would be a good profile fit, but he, as you say, isn't going to come for 6 months and then not play. Start of the day, I talked about Pep Guardiola and how good he was for the Premier League because he's an innovator and he's creative, and he will find a way, or he will come with a plan of playing something that plugs that gap. Don't be surprised if Maddison's playing centre midfield in somebody else. This guy thinks very differently, and the way that this run has gone, he'll have to go back to his football lab, he'll have to work things out and try and get things going. The football and the tactics is one thing, Rebecca. The attitude, the body language and the slight lack of hunger that's there today is another thing. That needs addressing as well, and that's something this week we thought all the news is good, he's staying for 2 years, he kickstarts this run. We didn't see it today.
Robbie, that's the test for me, right? Is Pep Guardiola has been a master at, and he talks about it, it's not how you train, it's how you show up to training, right? So he's always chomping and changing just a little bit based on body language and how you are around the training ground. And it's worked because he's only ever had to do it to one person, right? Take Foden in or out, take Grealish in or out. Now we're starting to see body language from Gundogan and from Walker and from multiple players on the pitch. We've never really actually seen Pep have to go. We've seen the other Premier League clubs go, you five weren't good, off. this is going to be a time now, like he did it with John Stones, you hooked him at halftime, and you don't usually do that with your center back. This is going to be a collective now for Pep Guardiola to say, like, this isn't just one little tweak. I'm going to have to tweak the midfield, and I'm going to have to tweak quite a few players.
I think to that point as well, and again, we talked about it early today, start the show back, these 9 players who are 30 or over, and these 3 players who are 30 in the next 12 months. This is an ageing group of players. As brilliant as they've been, as much as they've won, we are starting to get to the end of another cycle, and he's got to bring another group of players through.
Is that a mistake? They've let the squad get that old?
Well, there might have been a thought that, well, if Pep's going to a certain degree, we'll let that go and then somebody else will come in and rebuild it. But now he's staying for another 2 years. It looks like there's going to be work to do.
This is a bit ridiculous question because he's top of the goal-scoring charts.
Go for it.
But, of course, Haaland had a nightmare today. Of that, there is no doubt. Is another problem that Pep has, Tim, the fact that he sold Julian Alvarez. He has no competition, Erling Haaland, to come in and challenge him at any point. He plays pretty much no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna hold off judgment there because, you know, when we looked at some of the highlights, he's in really good positions. He's getting in the same positions that he actually scores in. Didn't have his shooting boots on today, so that's fair. Ricardo stood on his head. I thought he was brilliant in goals. So I still think he leads the league in goals. He's getting in good positions. Again, if he was lethargic or he was allowing himself to be marked, that wasn't the case. So I'm gonna have to put this as 1 or 2 off, and he'll get back on track, in my opinion.
Isn't the point also we're not getting many goals from anywhere else, Rebecca? And nobody else really looks like, you know, Foden's not on great form at the moment. KDB's been in and out. Bernardo Silva's kind of struggling a bit. Grealish. Not really anywhere else we've seen 4 or 5 goals that help him out.
Let's look at the title race, shall we? So it could go to 8 points tomorrow if Liverpool win at Southampton. Most people expect that to be the case, Tim. Then next weekend, it's the big game at Anfield. It is Liverpool against Manchester City. So feasibly, Liverpool beat Southampton, nobody would be surprised. There wouldn't be a huge amount of surprise if Liverpool win at home against Manchester City. Suddenly, then you're looking at an 11-point gap, Tim. Is that then too much at this stage of the season to make up?
For me, it is. For me, it is. And what I will tell you in terms of inside, and we've been inside these dressing rooms, what we're talking about here, what everybody on social media is talking about, Liverpool players, quietly, Slot won't allow them to talk, but when on a team bus, when they're in a hotel, when they're at training, they're going to go, lads, if we win, by the way, we're halfway there. Like they know what beating City. Now, they'll say all the right things to us when they come out in the press, but those players know if they can do a job, not tomorrow, but next week, if they can do a job against City, that they could put real distance and they'll have an idea of it.
Absolutely. Already, you have to say it's theirs to lose already based on tomorrow and next weekend, surely.
Absolutely. There's not been many opportunities when Manchester City have been in this kind of form, this kind of disarray, and you've got a chance to put a gap. You have a chance to put 11-point gap. I don't care if it's on the slot and it's new and he's just come in and he's taken over from Jurgen Klopp teams and we shouldn't expect too much. You have a brilliant chance of winning the Premier League title, just like Leicester City did the year everybody else wasn't quite at it. And if that's 3 opportunity and on the slots group already, they've got enough about them, Rebecca. One of the best attacks in the league and the best defensive record in the league.
Klopp having any regrets?
I bet he is. But the interesting thing about this Slot's team is this Liverpool team is a championship team. This is a title-winning team. I mean, they're littered with championship title-winning players, so they understand what's at stake. Yes, Klopp's definitely...
Premier League's tomorrow and they're playing Southampton. Let's just wait.